I'm spending way too much time worried about this. Do I know where I'm going from here? As I do this, you escape. That's where you get the water scene with Titus and Una. I think I can do the rest. What happens next? Final Fantasy X was my favorite video game of all time until Expedition 33 came out, but this video isn't about you. I love Final Fantasy X. It showed me what video games could be as a kid, so much more than just press button win game, but there's a story with heartfelt characters and development, character motivations and growth, and so much more, all in one tight package. I had to make sure I'm recording, sorry. Surely, even though I haven't played this game in about 7 years, surely I can describe the plot of Final Fantasy X from start to finish. But that would be boring. There are so many better videos than this one to hear about the plot of Final Fantasy X. So instead, we're making this into a challenge. See, on a normal day, I think I could get through from point A to point B all the way to point Z7 pretty decently. However, there's a little bit of a hiccup with this video. You see, about 15 minutes ago, I ate one of these candies that are definitely not something I would ever glorify or abuse on YouTube. So if I happen to start struggling to focus, giggling a little bit, or just overall losing the plot, it's surely just because I'm getting tired, and not because I enjoyed a nice candy. And because I legitimately do not believe in myself, I am joined by my co-host, Chair, who's going to be helping out with 3 lifelines I can use at any time during this challenge. And I've written them down just in case I get to a point where I forget what they are. At any time over the course of this challenge, I can use one of 3 lifelines, but I can only use each lifeline once. The first is the easiest. I just look up a walkthrough to see what the next step is from where I ended and got lost. The next one is I can open any character's specific Wikipedia page to see what they were doing at this point in the story as a hint to know what to do next. And the third and final lifeline is I can contact my roommate, who has no idea I'm doing this, but is on the other side of that wall. I would literally just open my door and ask, I don't even know if she's played this game before. That is the least useful lifeline, and I really hope I don't need it. But that's the entire point of this video. It's gonna be a long one. Final Fantasy X is not a simple game. It is not like a 3-act story. This game has like 7 acts, all with various plot twists and turns and various different changes. And again, I haven't played this game in 7 years. Have I mentioned that? This is not a good idea. There is a very real possibility I don't reach the credits. So drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you want more ridiculous content like this. I'm in an experimental phase. Except it's not a phase, Mom. This is who I am. This is who I am. Get a drink, throw me up on your second monitor. There's gonna be a few silly edits here and there, but overall it's just gonna be me, baby. So let's strap in and make our way to Zanarkand. Chapter 1. Zanarkand. We home in on our main character, Titus. If you call him Titus, I'm breaking your ankles. Titus is the star blitzball player of the Zanarkand Abes. What is Zanarkand? It's a giant city metropolis, super futuristic, big skyscrapers, massive, like, hologram lights and junk. It's an amazing place to be. What are the Zanarkand Abes? Well, they're the Zanarkand blitzball team, idiot. What do you mean, what's blitzball? Alright, so blitzball, I can't believe I'm already getting into blitzball, it's been 11 seconds. Blitzball is basically, what if you took soccer and rugby and put it underwater, and also the water is in a sphere that's held up, and like it's brutal. Like it's a full contact sport. If someone gets tackled out of the water, gravity wins. There are actual parts of the cutscene. I'm pretty sure someone gets like tackled out of the globe and like into the audience like viciously, and Titus is just like, yeah, I did that. Titus is very good at his job. He is like the star player. Everybody knows Titus. Kids are walking up to him. Women want to be with him or be him. who doesn't want to be tight? Most people on the internet, actually. But this is his story, and he'll tell it how he wants to. And he's gonna make sure you know it's his story. So, we wake up, Titus is walking, he gets visited by this weird little ghost child, who, I'm not gonna spoil who that ghost child is. To this day, I don't really know, well, I guess I do know how. No, yeah, okay, I'm already remembering things that I forgot. This is gonna be hard. Stay with me. He's visited by a ghost child who says something really cryptic, and Titus is just like, that was weird. Anyway, time to go do my job. Titus is actually, like, really good. He, like, signs the kids blitzball. He flirts with the girls, of course, but he's not, like, super creepy about it. In fact, he has, like, some charming social awkwardness to him. You know, I think one of his lines is like, if I see you, I'll score a goal, and I'll, do this. That means it was for you. And then the girls go crazy for him, and yeah, I mean, he's a good-looking guy. I don't know what the hell's going on with his shorts, but he's good-looking. So, we play blitzball, and by play blitzball, I mean watch one of the most beautiful cutscenes on the PlayStation 2. I'm gonna say it, these cutscenes hold up today. I haven't actually watched them in the PS2 version in like a decade and a half, but I almost promise you they hold up today. Throw some on screen, do some editing. I'm opening a seltzer water. I hope you're watching a really cool cutscene right now, and proving my point that those cutscene graphics hold up today, even if they are in 360p. It is very hot in my room, and I fear it is going to get hotter as this video goes on. So we play blitzball. Titus plays blitzball, and it's going good. You know, it's happening. And then there's this guy. There's this man in long red coat. He has a weird, like, turtleneck of the coat that covers, like, up to his nose. But you can see he got sunglasses on, so you know he's cool. We don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. But then there's this tidal wave. This tidal wave comes up from the sea and starts, at first you're like, oh my god, is this like a tsunami? Is it gonna crush? No, this thing starts shooting lasers. This thing starts shooting like lasers and seed pods and starts destroying the city. You learn that this is sin. I think this is when you learn it's sin. Spoiler alert, this creature is known as sin. It is just this destructive natural force as far as we can tell, and Orin is just like, I guess it's time. I'm mysterious and also kind of an asshole at times, but everybody wants to sleep with me. So Orin meets up with Titus. Like, everything goes wrong, the blitzball game gets interrupted, everyone's fleeing for their lives, and Titus is like, what's going on? Orin! And he runs out and he recognizes the man in the red trench coat with the weird face thing. It's Orin, you know. Orin! We don't know anything about Orin other than Titus knows him. He's sort of like a guardian figure. That's a pun for later. He's sort of like a protective figure, not quite paternal or father figure, because we will learn very quickly that Titus has daddy issues. Spoilers for later. But Orin does give Titus his dad's old sword. And I'll always remember because Titus goes, my old man? Exactly like that. Play the clip. My old man? I'm gonna make editing this a nightmare for myself. They start fighting. Titus actually picks up the sword like really well, even though there's no indication that Titus has ever really practiced sword fighting, which is weird because he's really good at it. Orin is better. Orin does do more damage because Orin has sunglasses, and that makes you better at fighting. And you fight your way through like these waves of, I think they're called Sin Spawn at this point. I know they are called Sin Spawn. I don't remember if they're called Sin Spawn this early. I think they are. You fight a bunch of little skittering, and you have to like cut a generator's ties to a truck so that it falls and explodes and gives you a way out. It's rad. I need to go into less detail. I'm still in the prologue. You run forward and you get to a point where Sin is basically devouring the city. And Titus slips and is like holding on for dear life. And he's like, Orin, Orin! And Orin just looks at him like, this is your story. It starts now. And then Titus gives a really weird scream as his face does this like distorted stretch effect, like he's being pulled into sin. And that is sort of the end of our prologue, or I guess I would call it the pre-prologue, because now we are in prologue part 2, where Titus wakes up alone in these ruins of what could be Zanarkand. Spoiler alert, it's not Zanarkand. Titus wakes up alone, he's got his sword, he has to like swim into these basically half-submerged ruins and starts freezing to death in there. He can barely start a fire, and all of a sudden, he gets attacked by this monstrous, like, spider blade-legged thing. The monster design is actually sick as hell. Like, the monster designs in this whole game go super hard, but for this being the first thing that, like, you are not supposed to be here, it's gonna kill you, and it feels that way, you know, you do barely any damage, and this thing chunks you, and all of a sudden, the wall explodes in these ruins, and in walk these strange, like, completely different looking people. They are not dressed anything like the people you were just fighting with. These people have like goggles, and there's this one girl with like flesh-colored, skin-tight spandex leather, and as a kid I'm like, am I supposed to be looking at this? She looks like she's naked, but there's also like belts and satchels, which just make it even more risque. As a kid I was always very uncomfortable because I didn't understand anything sexual until I was like 16. Christian household, rise up. Yeah. So, she joins in, she has grenades. She throws grenades at this thing and fights alongside Titus and kills the giant blade-legged spider, and Titus is like, hey, thanks for the help. What's your name? And she goes, Kuno, and then punches him in the gut and he passes out. It's hilarious. Because Titus is now passed out twice, effectively, in the first 20 minutes of the video game. You wake up on a boat. This boat is very steampunk. It's all very mechanical. You know, it sort of has an engine and you're moving. These strange people feed Titus. He is actually able to eat. He is not going to die. Thumbs up. And the girl takes off her goggles and introduces herself as Riku, that she is an Albed, which is a race of people found on Spira. And she's like, what do you mean you don't know what an Albed is? What do you mean you don't know what Spira is? Spira is here, that's the world. And Titus is like, what do you mean? I'm from Zanarkand. And Riku goes, alright, boss, maybe don't say you're from Zanarkand, because Zanarkand has been basically extinct for like thousands of years. Like, it used to exist, we knew it existed, it's ruins. I don't think she spoils that, but yeah, Zanarkand has been destroyed thousands of years ago. And so Titus immediately goes, well, I was in Zanarkand, and now I'm here. I time-traveled thousands of years. I think I just said time-traveled. With all that being said, Riku and the Albed put Titus to work. Because he can breathe underwater, apparently, that's never explained. All of Blitzball takes place underwater. No one has, like, respirators. They just breathe. And this is no different. Titus and Riku dive down, they dive into these ruins, they explore, they get like a core or something. I don't think it's ever quite explained what they're doing here. I think they're just salvaging stuff. They are salvagers, they are diving. I'm honestly shocked this part of the game never scarred me as a kid, because I have pretty crippling thalassophobia. When I see the gameplay nowadays, it does give me a lot of nerves. I think I developed thalassophobia in like late teenage years. When I played this at like 11, it wasn't that bad for me. Regardless, my own phobias aside, you swim down, you swim in, you get this core, and you fight this giant piranha. No, you fight a giant squid. There are piranha that you fight in like random encounters, and you fight this giant squid, which is a really cool introduction to the battle system, because not only is this like a Final Fantasy game of like, oh, attack, my turn, bonk, now I'm back to my spot, but like positioning matters. It doesn't matter that much because most fights are just like left side, right side, but some fights, especially some boss fights, are really cool because positioning does matter. You have to like swim around behind this thing and you can attack it. I think you deal more damage, and it'll miss you with one of its super attacks. It'll like charge up an attack, you swim behind it, and it like blows in front of you, so it doesn't blow you don't get blown. Instead you swim and it blows nobody. You get the thing, you swim out, and guess what? Sin's back out of seemingly nowhere. Sin, the same thing that destroyed Zanarkand in the pre-prologue, is now attacking you again in the prologue. I'd consider this the prologue at least. Sin basically attacks the boat, everything goes crazy, and Titus, for the third time in about an hour and a half of gameplay, passes out. Titus is unconscious again. Let's get a counter in the corner. I think that might be the last time he passes out though, so throw the counter away. You wake up again off the beach, this nice little like Hawaii, Jamaica inspired beachfront, which is really nice and a very stark contrast to the rest of the game. Everything from Zanarkand to the ruins to the boat, all of that has been this dark, like neon-ish, bluish, blackish, dark, aquatic nightmare. And this place, Besaid, is suddenly this bright, vibrant, green and yellow, sandy beach, like jungle area, and it's awesome. And there on the Titus is like, oh my god, I'm awake, where am I now? Am I another 1,000 years in the future? And then I think he gets hit by a blitzball? Either that or it just lands next to him, I can't quite remember. Regardless, a man is on the beach and is like, hey, you okay? That's, again, just another one of those lines burned into my memory the way he delivers it. This is Waka, leader of the Besaid Aurochs, which is, shockingly, a blitzball team. And I vividly remember, Titus grabs the ball and goes, blitzball! So many of these lines, especially from like the first half of the game, were just drilled into my subconscious. So they bond immediately, that big brotherly bond, and you immediately know this is your first actual party member. Riku fought alongside you, but now Riku's probably dead. Who knows? She was probably just an unimportant character who will definitely not be coming back later. Absolutely not, never in the world. Waka joins the party and helps guide you through Besaid. It's a nice introductory area. It's basically a straight line. Most of this game, in retrospect, is straight lines, but it's done in such a way that it feels non-linear, which is nice, even though this game is 100% railroaded. So, you go from the beach through the jungle, you have some nice little moments where Waka's like showing, oh yeah, this is the river, we're gonna swim through it to get back to my village, and Titus is like, wow, that's a deep river. And Waka thinks it'll be funny for this traumatized man who almost just drowned and washed up on the beach to push him off a 30-foot cliff into the river. Waka's not a good person. You fall into the river, Waka's laughing his ass off, and Titus is like, hey, that's not cool! And Waka's like, lighten up, man. I'm not going to be doing that voice very often, I hope not at least. You swim through the river, and you wind up in Besaid Village. Very clever name for the village found in Besaid. You learn a lot here. You go about meeting a few different people. The most important one, and the only one really worth mentioning, is Lulu. Lulu is Waka's love interest, very obviously from the get-go. She's also the voice of reason, and immediately introduced, basically confirmed, as your third playable character. Weird, we now have like a strength-based ball thrower, we have an agile swordsman, and we have a spellcaster. Weird. Also, Lulu awakened things in me. I'm not gonna go any farther than that, but like, come on. Also, she attacks with dolls. That did not awaken something in me, but I'm sure it awakened something in one of you. We get told we can stay here as long as we want. Besaid is a safe place for us. There's nothing wrong here. Something very important to mention about Besaid, there is no technology. It's never outright said, which is part of the game's just amazing environmental storytelling, and Titus actually never even calls it out. But this is all very traditional. Besaid is very, like huts and wood and natural lighting and trees providing cover. There is nothing technological whatsoever, which is a stark contrast from Zanarkand. Just very cool to mention. It will be important later, so keep up. There will be a test. So, we stay the night, and actually while we're sleeping in the middle of the day, because we're taking a little nap, because, we almost drowned. Titus almost drowned. I am not Titus, no matter how much I want to be. We are a little sneaky beaky, because apparently Waka and Lulu are a little bit, just very comfortable talking about incredibly personal things right in front of this stranger who they think is asleep, but it's fine. We find out that the reason Waka is so interested in us and, like, escorted us to the village and everything is because Titus looks a lot like his dead brother. Yay! Trauma! See, it's okay that Waka's a bad person because his brother's dead. That's an excuse. So it's clear that Lulu is there to try to sort of keep Waka down, and he talks about wanting to bring us with them. We don't know what that means yet. I'm going to keep talking about Titus as us, especially for the first half of this game, because Titus is a self-insert. He definitely is his own character. He talks a lot, but there is a lot going through the game that sort of has the player put themselves into Titus's shoes. He does have a strong personality, but not in a way I think that overwrites your ability to live vicariously through him. Moving on, that night, it is the test of the summoner. There is a new summoner in Besaid Village who is now old enough to go on her pilgrimage. The pilgrimage is going to be her visiting all of the various temples throughout all of Spira so that she can learn to harness the powers of the Aeons and stop sin, to bring about the calm. The calm is a period of time where sin disappears, because right now, sin is out there, wreaking havoc and attacking everyone. Well, it depends on who you ask. In Besaid, it is customary belief that sin attacks only those who are sinful, those who go against the teachings of Yevon. Yevon is a very thinly veiled metaphor. Very thinly veiled for Christianity. anybody who goes against the teachings of Yevon is inevitably going to be crushed and attacked and have their lives destroyed by sin. That is actually the reason, which we'll find out more later, but I'm trying to talk about it now in case I forget. That is why Besaid is so primitive, why there is no technology, because technology, known as Machina, is against the teachings of Yevon. According to the church, nobody is allowed to use Machina because that will bring about the wrath of sin. Moving on from there, we find out that, oh, the summoner hasn't come out yet. You know, the summoner and her, quote, guardians all went into the temple a little while ago, and of those guardians, that includes Waka and Lulu, along with a supposed third guardian accompanying her. They've gone in, it's been a few hours, and they haven't come back out, and we find out that this task can actually be a little bit dangerous. And so Titus, being the wonderful, respectful, guest being put up here, he ignores the priest and runs into the temple to help Yuna. Sorry, spoiler alert, the summoner's name is Yuna. You run inside, you solve some puzzles, you get to the end, and there you see Waka, Lulu, and my husband, Kimahri. He's the best character. He has like 4 lines of dialogue in the entire game. He's a giant muscle lion man, and I would like to just... I like Kimahri. There's a lot of arguments about, hey, Titus shouldn't be here. Well, it's okay, he just came because he cared. Yeah, well, it's disrespectful, and that's all interrupted because Yuna stumbles out of the inner chamber of the temple, sweating, literally about to pass out. Kimahri catches her in his arms, just like the way I would want him to catch me. But she is alive, she has succeeded, and she has bonded to the first Aeon. As a demonstration afterward, she rests up as a celebration that night because she succeeded, and the next day she shows off her ability to summon Valifor. I'm not going to remember the name of all of the... Well, maybe I will. Thinking about it, I might know them. We'll see how we are when we get there. She summons Valifor, this big, bone bird, and the Aeon designs in this game are absolutely killer. I will never forget how cool Valifor looks as long as I live. Absolutely rad. And from here, we find out, hey, Waka, Lulu, and Kimahri are Yuna's official guardians. They will be accompanying her to every temple across the lands of Spira to finish her pilgrimage. And Titus, they say, can come along for now. Titus is not a guardian, but Yuna specifically wants him to come along because she thinks he looks cute. There's more to it than that, but overall, it's just sort of implied that she wants him there. I think she says that she feels safe when he's around, and she was impressed by him coming to the temple to help her, even though he really didn't do anything. So we're leaving Besaid Village, and by extension, we are leaving Besaid. It is Waka, Kimahri, Lulu, Yuna, and Titus, your 5-person party. You get a bunch of combat tutorials that I'm gonna skip over in this description because we are 25 minutes in, and we're still in Act 1. You walk back to the beach where you met Waka, and there is a boat there, and you get on this boat, and it is a nice, clean boat ride to Kilika. Just kidding. When you get there, Kilika has basically been... No, wait, before you get to Kilika, the boat is attacked. You're not attacked by Sin itself, rather you are attacked by a Sin spawn. This is a giant fiend. All the monsters in this game, from the random encounters to the bosses, are all called fiends. Fiends are everywhere. They are born of Sin. They are the coalescence of the souls of those who have been killed by Sin and have not been able to pass on. I do believe that is explained by this point. If not, it is explained in the next part, which I'll get to within 5 minutes. So you fight off this Sin spawn. It's awesome. It's a really cool fight involving the boat and cool boat mechanics. It's a very, very cool one. And at the end of it, you are actually knocked off the boat alongside Waka, and it's sick as hell, where Titus and Waka have to 2-man fight this thing underwater, which is just a rad visual. The storytelling in this game by the battles themselves is incredible, even without the rest of the story tacked onto it. So you fight off this thing underwater, you get back on the boat, and everybody is okay. Everybody is shaken, everybody is terrified. I think a few people fell off the boat and do canonically die, but they were unnamed, so they don't count. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief. However, if there was a Sin spawn here, that means there was Sin here. And right in the wake of our success, we see a cutscene of a small little tribal village on the water, of like a boy playing with a blitzball, and it's like a small little dock city, so like everywhere's on the water and connected by little bridges. It's super cute, and we see the imposing shadow of Sin. This tiny village of probably 40 people gets absolutely demolished by Sin, and we arrive to see the wake of destruction. There are bodies, there are destroyed houses, there's probably like 15 people left alive in the village. However, luckily, Yuna is a summoner, and this is part of her duty, which is to perform the sending. The sending is a duty that the summoner must do. Well, doesn't must do. She doesn't must do, but she should do to help calm the souls of the departed, because, this is where you find out, souls that are not sent to... Oh, it has a name! I'm not gonna remember the name. It's over. It's not worth a lifeline. I'm sorry. There is another plane. I think it's the something plane. Far plane! It's the far plane! They are sent to the far plane, which is where souls go after they have died on the mortal plane of Spira, and the summoner is the only one able to guide them. Some souls do make it there to the far plane on their own, but it is only because usually if they die like of natural causes or they lived a very full life, very similar to like spirits in our world where they stick around if they have unfinished business, that is sort of the spirits here. And if enough spirits find each other on Spira with unfinished business, they will coalesce into a fiend that will often go around killing more people, creating more spirits, coalescing into even more fiends. So it's sort of like an escalating problem that the summoner and her guardians are able to at least help with. You know, those 30-odd people who were killed in Sin's attack on Kilika are able to be put to rest in an absolutely beautiful cutscene. That is one cutscene that has almost never been topped. It is probably easily in my top 10 video game cutscenes of all time. If you have not seen it and heard the music, look up the Yuna sending cutscene from Final Fantasy X, specifically the Kilika one. It's a work of art. The music in this game is incredible. Again, the only game that has topped this for me is Expedition 33, but this video is not about you, no matter how much I want it to be. While we're at Kilika, there is a temple to visit. Right? Yeah, there's a temple on Kilika, but you have to go through the woods, and the woods are infested with fiends, especially one big fiend known as the Ochu, which is an optional boss fight, which I love this game has optional boss fights, so even though there is a linear path, you can just walk around him to go to the temple, but you always fight Ochu because it's a bonkers amount of experience, and I love that fight. It's a really hard one too. Here you also meet a specific subset of defense guard, effectively, here on Spira, known as the Crusaders? Is that their name? Are they just the Crusaders? I think it's the something Crusaders, but it's not there. We're gonna call them the Crusaders. If it's something else, you can make fun of me in the comments. The Crusaders, when you find them, we also... I don't think we've heard at this point whether that's happened or not. No, we don't find out until the Meian Highway, so I'm gonna wait to spoil that one for you. We meet some Crusaders who are here. Crusaders are the ones responsible for fending off fiends. They protect different villages. There's a whole army of them. They are the army of Spira. They fight off fiends, they protect the people, they do everything they can to keep the peace for these people. Because shockingly, we sort of learned that Spira is it's always at peace. There is no civil war in Spira with an asterisk. It's almost, and this is a very heavy theme throughout the game, shared suffering brings people together. There are multiple big cities and factions in Spira, but none of them at this moment are at each other's throat because they are all at Sin's mercy. If Sin could come for any of them at once, why should they be fighting each other? It is a really cool fact. So we go to the Kilika Temple. We fight another Sin spawn right outside the temple. That was a really cool fight. It's like a big old plant, so you have to kill the tentacles while they spawn, otherwise you're going to take way too much damage, and then you have to hit it with certain spells to get it to open its mouth, and then you can deal damage while its mouth is open. Cool boss fight. You beat his ass. You go up some stairs. I think Yuna and Titus have a really cute moment where she goes, and he goes, and you go up, you do the temple, and you get the second summon, Ifrit. Ifrit is your classic giant hellhound monster demon. He's hot. From there, you head back to the boat, because Kilika was just a single stop. It was very much a side tangent of like, hey, we're here to visit the temple, and we're moving on to our main destination, which is Luca. Luca is the blitzball capital of the world. I think it's like the second biggest city too. It's massive. At least for PS2 standards, it's like an 8-screen city where you can run around and hit loading zones. And while we're there, because of course we do, we have to take part in the Blitzball tournament because it's the Blitzball World Cup. I think it's called the World Spirit Cup. I don't know. It's a big Blitzball tournament that the Besaid Aurochs with Captain Waka have been training for. And so you also find out that the Besaid Aurochs are the worst team in the league. Absolutely nobody respects the Besaid Aurochs. And so this whole time, that's something I haven't really covered, is that Titus has been sort of co-coaching alongside Waka. And it's not my favorite message, but I get it from a competitive standpoint. Up to this point, Waka's just been like, yeah, we play Blitzball because we love to play the game. That's enough. And everyone's like, yeah, we love to play the game. And Titus is like, wait, you know you can play to win, right? And they're like, what? Playing to win? And then you have to play 3 games of Blitzball, which are really, really hard. I think it's only 2 games. The first one is decent, but like I said, you are controlling the worst team in the league, and there are stats on each individual Blitzball player, and let me tell you, the Besaid Aurochs, good golly molly, do they suck. And also, when you get there, Waka, who was like their best player, says, hey, I'm not playing this time. It's all on you. This is my last tournament. I want to see you do it yourselves. That way I can be proud of you and know you're going to be in good hands. It's like a sweet message, but also when you learn what Waka's stats are, you get so pissed. So you play the first game. I believe you have to win? I can't remember if you have to win or not. I think you do win. No, you don't have to win. You can lose. But no matter what, in the next game, you will be fighting the Luca Goers, which are the best team in... Maybe you just fight the Luca Goers. Maybe this is just one game of Blitzball. I'm trying to misremember, because you can play Blitzball later. I think this is just one game of Blitzball. Yeah, that's right, because the first game, I believe, is played without you, and the Besaid Aurochs always win. They always win that game because they move on to the finals, and that's where you, Titus, will be taking part in it. And the reason you don't take part in the first game is because Yuna gets kidnapped. Yes, for the first time, not the last, Yuna gets kidnapped, and you and the rest of the Guardians have to ditch the Blitzball scene to go out and find her. I think actually Waka, that's right, Waka does play in the first game while you're going to save Yuna, but then when you, yeah, because he gets injured. Because you see him in a cutscene, and he gets like hit by a Blitzball, and he goes, and he like taps out. But you save Yuna from a giant robot out of seemingly nowhere. Even Luca, this giant city, it's definitely not like primitive or anything like that. It's a big city. It's a lot more modern. There's still no technology. They have magical screens that are powered by water? Magic? I think they're powered by magic. I think the Blitzball sphere, all of that, the screens they displayed on, I believe it is all specifically non-machina. However, you find Yuna has been trapped in a giant bubble, not a giant bubble, trapped in a cage, I think, inside a giant robot, a giant piece of machina. And everyone is already throwing around the first majorly, there are accusations that the Albed are behind this. And actually, I think it is confirmed that the Albed are behind it, because as you are looking for Yuna, you are actually fighting off smaller robots, and I think Albed with guns that shoot you in the face. But you fight them off, you break the machine, you get Yuna back, you run back, and you, Titus, make it in time to see Waka get injured, tapped out, and saying, hey, I'm not going to play in this game. And so you, Titus, and the rest of the Aurochs have to win this Blitzball game, and it's insanely difficult because all of the other players have insanely high stats because the Luca Goers are cracked, and you are the Besaid Aurochs, and you have Keepa. So, whether you win or lose, if you win, you get like a nice sphere to use on the sphere grid. I'm not going to cover the sphere grid. It's amazing. It is the best possible level up system in any Pathfinder. I'm not playing Pathfinder. It's the best level up system in any JRPG to date. I love it. I absolutely adore it. I think the sphere grid is perfect, and the fact that it has not come back in anything besides basically Path of Exile is an absolute crime. And if you've never played the HD remaster or the PAL version and played with the Universal Sphere Grid, I think it's called, or the Advanced Sphere Grid. If you've never played with the Advanced Sphere Grid, look into it. It completely changes the game. Amazing for a sequel playthrough. I'm going to be doing that on the next playthrough. So, you finish the Blitzball tournament, and right at the end of that last game, guess what? Fiends everywhere, raining from the sky, but no sin. There's just fiends, there's Sahuagin in the water, you're fighting these giant birds, and you know who shows up? Orin. Orin shows up and is like, hey, by the way, I'm here. And he helps you cut down these fiends, and you all sort of reconvene at the end, and you're like, holy cow, this was terrifying. And then, because you're still getting overwhelmed at this point, you reconvene with everybody, and you're like, we can't beat all of these fiends. What's going on? Well, guess what? The man in blue himself, the second best character, I'm sorry, Kimari, you'll always be number one, the second best character in the game shows up. Seymour. Seymour walks up, big old blue robe, summons this massive Aeon. It's not judgment, it's not penance either. He has one name like that. It's a giant fish who's like this, and all of his attacks go so he blasts them. He blasts all the fiends. They all die in like laser blasts from this thing's eye. It's super cool. That thing is a metaphor, a very creepy metaphor that I will hopefully remember to get into later. Because I need to speed up because we are still in Act 1. Oh my gods. So, Seymour saves the day, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's Seymour. Thank goodness he was here. He saved us all. And I believe they leave without you getting to meet them. I don't even know if you know their name is Seymour. I think Yuna's like, that was Seymour. He's one of the greatest summoners. Because we find out that Yuna is not the only summoner. There are actually summoners from all over Spira who are making their pilgrimage to gather all the Aeons and attune to them, and more than one summoner can actually attune to each Aeon and call upon their powers. In fact, I believe one Aeon can only be summoned by one summoner at a time. We find out very, very soon that there are a lot more. So we wrap up in Luca. Luca takes forever. I skipped over a lot that doesn't really matter. It's a lot of world building. There is the laughter scene. I love it. I think it's fantastic. If you hate the laughter scene, you do not understand it. I will almost never say that about things. Like, you just clearly don't understand. The laughing scene is literally forced laughter. And I think we could all learn a lot from Titus and Yuna right now. We leave Luca to go to the... That's not the Meian High Road. Is that the Meian High Road? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Maybe that is the Meian High Road. I think that's the Meian High Road. I think I was getting the Meian High Road confused with something else that I'm not going to know the name of later. So we go to the Meian High Road, which is just this long straight line. And y'all, I remember grinding in this place for hours as a kid. Because the way the game works, you don't level up. You don't have a character level. You just progress along the sphere grid. As such, you never out-level enemies. Your XP costs just keep going up and up and up. I would spend hours because there were some really strong enemies on this road, and there was a save point right there. So you just run around and fight things. I'm getting off topic. You go down this long road. You interact with a lot of NPCs. It's great for world building. You learned a lot about things I'm probably not going to talk about in this video. And you meet Sex Mama. What? I don't... She looks hot. She's another summoner, and she has a guardian, just a single guardian, who's a guy that goes... I don't think he ever talks. He might have like 2 lines of dialogue. Belladonna? Is her name Belladonna? I'm going to call her Belladonna. So Belladonna actually offers you a challenge. No, Belladonna doesn't. Wait, Belladonna doesn't come until later. Wait, who's the girl? Who's the girl you meet on the Meian High Road? Wait, that's not Belladonna. It's someone else. I don't think you meet Belladonna until, like, Ixion. I don't remember this girl's name. She's a very minor side character. I think you encounter her 3 times, and each time you do, she's like, hey, I want to see how strong your Aeons are. And she uses her own Aeon against you, and I believe you cannot use the Aeon she is using in the fight. It's a really cool dynamic. So, like, she summons Ifrit, and you have to beat him with Valifor, and it's almost like a puzzle fight, because you have to block and guard in the time with his super attacks. It's awesome. Anyway, you fight her, and she's like, you're pretty cool. You are going to be a great summoner. I think she gives you a piece of gear. It's a nice little bonus objective. Unrelated. You move down, you reach the end, you reach an inn, you sleep at the inn, and then in the morning you find out there's a chocobo eater outside. No, yes, no, yes, before the inn, after the inn, you decide. It's during the day, it's in daytime, it's not nighttime, so I think it's in the morning, as I think there's a good cutscene of people talking at the inn, but I can't remember. Regardless, you fight the Chocobo Eater. It's a really cool fight, and guess what? You can learn a lot from this fight in your D&D and Pathfinder campaigns, because there is a win result and a lose result to this fight. If you beat this thing, you can go back into the inn, you can rest up, you can buy items, and you get to keep taking the high road all the way to your destination. Oh god, what's the destination? Well, you can also take the low road. If you lose to the Chocobo Eater, granted, okay, different. If you lose, you just die if you drop to 0. But the entire fight, he's pushing you. And if he cuts off his push attack at the edge, he will shove you off the high road down to the low road. You get no experience. You can't go back into the inn. You don't get any gear or anything. It's a really cool fight, and I actually don't mind losing because the low road is different if you want to explore the low road. Otherwise, you have to sort of run back around up it. So you get knocked down, you take the low road, you go down to the Meian checkpoint, and from the Meian checkpoint, you meet some Crusaders. Oh no, the Order. Oh no, wait, the Order. Because is this where you meet the Crusaders and they're like, hey, we're teaming up with the Al Bhed? I think that's later. No, because it's Operation Meian. No, yeah, this is it. You get to this checkpoint. I just kicked you in the face. You get to this checkpoint, and the Crusaders have set up shop, and you find out they're working alongside the Al Bhed. There are cannons, there is weaponry, and Wakka's like, this isn't Yevon's way. This isn't Yevon's teachings. And Wakka throws an absolute hissy fit. And they say, we know. We are doing everything we can to call Sin here. We have even caged and captured 3 of his Sin spawn because Sin always comes back to pick up his children. Which is kind of cool and terrifying at the same time. So they're literally baiting out Sin. And you know, there's a lot of walking around here. This is a big game gap I can skip because it's mostly talking to NPCs. You find out that Seymour is there. Seymour is going to be helping out. You actually get to play as Seymour in your party for like one fight, fighting a different Sin spawn. Because you have to fight, I think, 3 bosses in a row. I think you literally have to fight all 3 Sin spawn in a row. 1 with Seymour, 2 without, 1 without, I can't remember. But you fight these Sin spawn, and sure enough, after you defeat the last Sin spawn, Sin shows up. Everybody starts firing cannons and harpoons and doing everything they can to attack, and guess what? It doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. We're 5 hours into the game of this 30-hour RPG. We're only 5 hours into the game of this 30-hour RPG. So, the Operation Meian does not go to plan, obviously. Sin wipes out pretty much everybody. I think it is literally a solid like 30-40+% of the people who took part in Operation Meian just are eradicated, completely killed in the aftermath. But luckily your entire party has main character syndrome and none of you are killed. You all wake up on the beach, you all mourn the failure of the entire operation. Yuna does perform ascending for everybody involved so that nobody becomes a fiend. And this is where you meet who I'm going to call Belladonna. You regroup and you say, hey, at least we're at... I don't think it's the Meian Temple. It's where we were going. I know the Aeon you get from this temple is Ixion, the lightning pony, but I don't think its name... Yeah, I could not tell you its name. I think it's the only thing you do with this entire temple, in this entire, quote, town or location. It's just a temple, there is no town attached. You go, you meet Belladonna, who comes out of there before you, and I believe challenges Yuna to a duel to show, like, oh, I'm a better summoner, if I'm remembering correctly, because I'm pretty sure you fight Ixion before you get Ixion. I thought that was really, really cool. I hope I'm remembering this right, because if so, that's really, really cool of Sony, that you get to fight the Aeon you're going to get before you even get it. Absolutely rad. You go in, you solve puzzles, you get Ixion, you move forward. From this point, things get fuzzy. I believe from here you make your way down towards... I could not tell you the name. It's like a regular grass path through a very, very nothing burger area, and you get to what looks to be like a swampy location. However, before you go into the swampy location fully, you are interrupted by a tight, leather-clad, flesh-colored woman, as in very high 360p, takes off her goggles, lets her hair down, very sensually unzips her clothing, and steps out of it, and hey, it's Riku! Oh my god, it's Riku, who somehow seems to know Yuna, which is kinda weird. Funny that. I hope I can remember exactly why that is, because I legitimately don't know if I do, at least not in detail. But Riku knows Yuna. Yuna's like, you know what, I think I know you too. So, Riku joins the party as the 6th and final guardian. You have all 6 7th and final Guardian. Right, Orin joined the party, by the way. When we ran into him back in Luca, he's like, hey, I'm coming with you. You also find out that Orin was Yuna's dad's Guardian. Yuna's dad was the Guardian before Yuna. Yuna's dad is passed away, unfortunately, but he did save Spira and brought about the previous calm, and Yuna, even though she was too young to really get to know him, loves her dad for what she did, and she wants to be just like him. So, you run into Riku, and Riku's like, hey, and you're like, okay, now you've got Riku, who's your rogue character. So, all of you go down to a location. Again, I could not tell you the name of it, but you know what I will tell you? Rise the Shupath? There is an entire species of people. There's like 7 or 8 of them in the entire game. Most of them are in this tiny little village. And they are Bloobles peoples who are talking like this is. They're basically Jar Jar Binks, but less annoying.
What could that be?
And the one line I will always understand and always remember is Rise the Shupath? And so once you're done shopping and resting and all those good JRPG things when you get to a new city, you ride the Shupath. And you start doing it. Shupath is basically this giant Loch Ness monster style thing. I know it looks different than Nessie. It's not just a lizard, but I could not remember how it looks. Now is a good time to mention, I have played the first half of Final Fantasy X 3 times. Once when I was a kid, again as a kid after my friend saved over my file, which I was right around this point. So I played all the way up to this point again, and then barely got any farther, and then finally played the entire game for myself about 9 years ago. Maybe more thinking about it. I think it was over 10 years ago I last played through this entire game. At the beginning of the video, I think I said it was like 7 years ago. I don't think I ever played it fully through after moving out of my parents' house. That's where I finished it, so yippee! So I've only played the rest of this game once. Keep that in mind. I've watched a full playthrough a long time ago, and I look at cutscenes all the time. But this, on top of my regular candy, which of course is not affecting me in any way whatsoever, and if it did, I would never glorify or endorse it. But if it were, it's definitely starting to kick in. We ride the Shupath, and halfway across, Yuna gets kidnapped again by another massive piece of robotics. She gets trapped in this water bubble underwater, and Waka and Titus once again got a dude bro team up and fight it down. I think Riku helps. Riku does help. Yeah, Riku is the third underwater fighter. It's kind of a cool fact of the game that only Titus, Waka, and Riku can fight underwater. There's very few underwater fights, but they're the only ones who can. Keep this in mind for later, because it was a problem in my playthrough. Those of you who have played this game know what I'm talking about. So, you get attacked by this machine, you fight it, you break it down, you get back in, and now, because... does Waka realize at this point? I don't know if Waka's realized yet, because Waka's been very, very chummy with Riku. Waka and Riku are very, very nice, and Riku, I believe this is where she breaks down. You save Yuna from the robot, you bring her back out, and Riku yells that Yuna's going to die. That the reason she is being kidnapped is because the Albed are trying to save her. Yuna has been kidnapped, and this is completely news to Titus. Lulu, Kimari, and Waka, and of course Riku, and Yuna herself all knew that when the summoner finishes her pilgrimage, she dies to finish it. To summon the final Aeon and defeat Sin, Yuna must die. Bomb drop. Titus is now sort of on Riku's side, like, no, this isn't okay, we can't let Yuna die. But then Yuna fights against Titus, being like, no, let me do this. This is my path, this is what I want to do to be as good as my father. And Titus is not able to talk her out of it, but he does make the promise that we'll figure out how to do it without killing you. So you land on the other side with the Shupath. And I don't believe there's anything but a small little path that leads you up to... It's not Macalania. Oh god, what's the name? What's the name of the species? What's the name of the location? No, is it Macalania? Because it's the Macalania Thunder Plains, right? Oh no, is this where I use a lifeline? Do I need to use a lifeline? no, we're only like a third of the way. I can't use a lifeline. Like, I know, but this is too important. This is one of the most important spots in the entire game. Because this is also where the far plane is. This little city, it's a city inside of a cave. A city's a bit much. It's a town, village, inside of a cave where these people who are very important and very strict worshippers of Yevon protect the far plane, where you can actually go into the far plane, and this is one of the coolest story building parts. You can walk into the far plane and see a vision of anybody who has died. However, it is not actually them. It is the spirits of the far plane coalescing into the shape of the person you've lost. So a lot of people will travel here. Where are you? Guad Salam! Guad Salam! Guad Salam! Guad Salam. It's Guad Salam. It's Guad Salam. Because the people are the Guado. Because, plot twist, Seymour is half Guado. I'll get to that. So the Guado protect the far plane. You go in, there's some really nice character development of Orin talking to someone that I don't believe Titus recognizes. Waka talks to his brother. Lulu, I think, talks to somebody. Yeah, Lulu connects with a guy. I think it's the only time he's brought up in the entire game, and it's implied to be, I believe, an old lover, I think. It's been a long time since I've watched that little mini cutscene, I tell you. Yuna looks at her father, and Titus, I believe if I'm remembering correctly, tries to find his father. He has not seen or even talked about his dad in a long time, but I think Orin and Waka are both like, it'll be good for you. Just stare at him and tell him what you think. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't show up. I think Titus is able to see his mom, but not his dad. Am I remembering that right? I might be making this up. I swear there's a line about how he wouldn't even show up for this kind of deal, because Titus has daddy issues. Titus's father, Jecht, was like never in his life. He was a pro blitzball player, just like Titus began, but he was never the father Titus needed him to be, and he has a lot of daddy issues, and I think he takes it out here in the far plane. I'm almost tempted to use my lifeline just to know if that happens, but I can't. It's not important enough to the story, and I need to save my lifelines for when I have literally no idea what comes next, because it gets so blurry and so convoluted because it's a Final Fantasy game. So you leave at Guad Salam, you do meet with Seymour. Seymour, I believe, was raised there in Guad Salam, and he has very supervillain energy the entire time. I don't remember the exact subject matter of the conversation. I remember it being very impactful. You have a nice dinner, and it's all just very loaded. It's very loaded where any 9-year-old can tell, oh, Seymour's not a good person. Like, even during Operation Meian, there was a lot of like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't. This is a little bit, ooh, but he's helping us, so he's a good guy. And you meet him in Guad Salam, it's like, okay, we're all very uncomfortable. And Titus specifically decides to hate Seymour. I think it's on mostly a gut feeling, but he did not agree with what Seymour was saying. But they continue on through the Macalania Thunder Plains. What's on the other side? Which leads you to the forest, right? I believe the Macalania Thunder Plains lead into the Crystal Forest. It's just the Macalania Woods. Yeah. So the Thunder Plains lead you into the Macalania Woods, which are these beautiful crystal woods. Like, all of the leaves and trees look like they're made of actual, like, crystal or ice. You run up. It's a really annoying place. I'm not even going to get into the post-game of, like, super weapons or anything, but this is where you get Titus's super weapon, and it's absolutely goddamn infuriating. That's all I'm going to say. Y'all, I don't know. I never did the Thunder Plains. That was too much for me, but this was the one I did. And, ugh, unimportant to the story. You make it through the crystal woods, and you get to the end, and at the end, you find a sphere, which, by the way, I've never mentioned up to this point. Spheres are sort of their version of, like, journals. They are actual video journals where you can look into what was recorded, like a camera, but once again, this is technically not Machina. This is magic, or whatever. I think it might be the spirits themselves. I don't remember. I'm sorry. It's been 10 years. So. You find this sphere, however, it immediately becomes this big blue blob that you fight off, which was awesome. That fight is really good, and you need Lulu, and this I usually teach Yuna black magic for that fight. It's because he's only weak to elements, and like you can't physically hurt him for anything. But you beat it, and you watch, and you see that it is Yuna's father, Orin, who at this point I think we did already know, Orin was the guardian for Yuna's father, sort of how Titus is doing for Yuna, and Orin is doing for Yuna. Orin also did for Yuna's dad. Which also leads to that sort of like Titus getting angry at Orin because Orin knew that Yuna was going to die at the end of this and never told him. In fact, nobody ever told Titus. I'm going off on tangents. You find this sphere, and you see... what was his name? Yuna's dad started with a B. It's not important. We can just call him Yuna's dad. I wish I remembered the name, though. But you see that Yuna's dad, the summoner, is accompanied by Orin as his guardian. And get this, Jecht, Titus's dad, was doing almost the exact same thing Titus is doing now. Wound up in Spira with no information why, accompanied a summoner with Orin at his side to be a guardian throughout. Being very similar to Titus, who is now officially a guardian, by the way. After saving Yuna and all of that, Titus does officially become a guardian. I believe that happened in Luca, actually, so I'm a little late on that. But, God, I'm jumping between, like, acts of the game. We're, like, in Act 2 now. I believe Guad Salam is basically the end of Act 1. You could even call... No, Operation Meian was the end of Act 1. This is not official, by the way. I'm making these up and pulling them out of my ass as we speak. So, you... Where was I? Oh, no. Oh, no, this is the first time I, like, bounced around too much. Macalania Woods... Was it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Jecht was in the sphere. It's a massive turning point for Titus in the story of, like, why was my dad accompanying Yuna's dad? Nobody told me that. And then Yuna's like, oh my god, you're the son of Jecht? I think this conversation was a lot earlier. I think this conversation was in Luca. Basically, Yuna knew Titus's dad and is like, you're the son of the great Jecht. That's crazy. And Titus is like, yeah, I hate that guy. And she's like, why? He was such a nice guy. And Titus is like, huh? That's weird. Not my old man. Couldn't have been the same person. That's right. Titus was under the impression it could not have been the same Jecht, that they clearly just share the same name. However, when they find this sphere, it is confirmed that Titus's father was... What's your name, Yuna's dad? No. Brema? I can't waste time on this. It's getting worse. You make it through the woods, which leads you to Macalania proper, which is just this frigid, icy wasteland. In fact, Macalania is basically just an empty ice field, and then a valley of ice, and then the temple. And that is everything Macalania is. There's no, like, Macalania City. There's Macalania Woods, and there was the Thunder Plains, but there is no Macalania City. You do end up fighting, I believe, another Machina? I believe you fight one more Machina boss here in the Macalania Ice Plains. You fight it. I remember it being a really hard boss, too. So I don't remember any details about it, but it was difficult. You beat up that boss, and you decide, hey, we're gonna take these snowmobiles left over to Macalania Temple. It'll be a lot faster, and it takes a lot of convincing of Waka that, oh, but this is against the teachings of Yevon. We cannot commit sin, otherwise sin will grow stronger and bite me on the butt. We ride the motorcycles, the snowmobiles, and these snowmobiles are... The snowmobile scene is very interesting, because secretly, in the background of Final Fantasy X, every time you've talked to an allied party member when they're on the field, like if you're in an inn, or if you're in a major city and you can find your party members and talk to them, they actually had a relationship gauge going up. So whoever you talk to the most actually gets a unique scene here. It's a unique scene with Titus. It is who he shares the snowmobile with. I love getting it with Lulu, but everybody has a really good cutscene with some really good character development. And unfortunately, I think most people do get Yuna, because most people do talk to Yuna. I think if you talk to everybody in every cutscene, in every possible city, it will default to Yuna, just because she has more options to talk to her. But yeah, if you ever want to get a specific snowmobile scene, just only talk to one party member every time they are available to talk to on the field, and they will be who accompanies you. So, you drive to Macalania Temple, and you meet with Seymour. And Seymour's big plan, the thing, this is where he reveals, oh, Seymour is actually big bad psychopath. Seymour
reveals that his plan, he has a plan to end the cycle of the calm and then sin and then the calm and then sin. His way to end the cycle is to destroy Spira. His plan is to use the power of the Aeons in a way that I do not remember how, and become sin itself. If Seymour can become sin, then he can kill everybody, and therefore nobody will have to suffer ever again. It's a classic, like, purely logic idea, but it's also really well designed. Seymour's an asshole who's constantly, like, fighting for as much power as possible, which is perfectly in his character. I love it. So, we fight, and we actually kill Seymour. He drops to the ground dead, and this is that time. There's a time like this in every single Final Fantasy game. But effectively, you kill Seymour, who is the Prime Maester, who is a pretty high-ranking official in the Church of Yevon, by the way. The guards come in, they see Seymour dead, they see all your weapons drawn, and they immediately tell everybody. The Guados start spreading the word that Yuna and her guardians are enemies of the state. They are enemies of Yevon. They are to be killed or captured on sight. This is where things get really, really messy, because, you know, what are you gonna do? Well, they decide what they're going to do is finish the pilgrimage. They are going to finish their pilgrimage. They are going to get Yuna to all of the temples and defeat Sin before, you know, again, that's just the plan. You know, you stop Seymour, Seymour is down, and all you can do is finish the pilgrimage.
Warning. Warning. Navigation offline. Course unsure. Plot messy.
So you push onward, you have the iconic Titus and Yuna lake scene afterwards, where Yuna is freaking out, knowing that none of this is going according to plan. It's awful, they hate it. And you know, Titus calms her down, they make out for a while, whatever. The water happens. From here, with nowhere else to go but forward, you go out into the something plains. I'm pretty sure it's the something plains. I couldn't tell you the exact name of the location, but it's the something plains, okay? And this is the biggest map in the game. There is so much to do here, and the nice thing is that it's all side content. There's like a tiny camp you can visit. There's a monster arena where you can get capture weapons to capture every monster in the game, which is required if you want to do end-game, post-game content. There is chocobo racing. There's so many secrets. There's an insane amount of secrets here that do not matter whatsoever to the main plot. All that matters is you cross these massive plains and you reach Mount Gagazet, which is not only one of the most beautiful places in the game, basically being a snowy mountainside that you're going to have to scale, but it's also the home of the Ronso tribe, which is what Big Blue Lion Boy Kimahri is. This is Kimahri's, like, only major moment where he is the driving character. Otherwise, he has been in the background supporting actor the entire time. I adore him. He usually does, like, one thing every 2 or 3 cutscenes, and he's badass for it. You actually get a moment where Kimahri has to fight off both of his brothers, because Kimahri is actually a smaller Ronso and left the mountain in shame after having his horn broken. He dueled his brother overpowered him and snapped his horn in half to make him embarrassed. He's hornless, hornless! You actually have an opportunity where Kimahri fights both of his brothers, and if he wins, I don't think you even get, like, any good gear or anything. I think you might get a weapon that is just decent, but it just changes Kimahri's story. He either proves himself to his brothers that he is an honorable Ronso and he is stronger than them, or if you forgot to train up Kimahri, you just get your ass whooped and Kimahri's just sad. His brothers make fun of him and walk away. It is depressing as hell. Level up Kimahri. Do not dare lose that fight, because unless you run a reload a save, you can't do it again. It doesn't give you a try again. It's not a game over. You live with the fact that you let Kimahri get embarrassed in front of his brothers. He's a really proud Ronso. He's a good guy. Don't forget Kimahri. You scale Mount Gagazet, and you get to the top, and a few things all happen. First off, Seymour's back. He's not dead. He's in this, like, giant angel mecha death form For some reason, I don't exactly remember why. It's sort of explained that I forgot the big reveal. Not only was Seymour trying to destroy the world, Seymour's dead. That's why everyone was like okay with killing him, because Seymour is dead. He's technically a fiend being held together by spirits, and Yuna tries to send him and he fights back. That's why you kill him and then everyone finds him dead, because the public don't know that Seymour is dead. So when you killed him, he just sort of came back. Apparently a lot stronger, because this boss fight is always bullshit in all of three. I only got there like once. I feel like I fought this boss twice. Maybe I did get there as a kid. Maybe I did in my second playthrough after my friend erased my file. I did get at least this far. I did get at least this far, actually. Confirmed. In my brain, just now. So, you fight Super Giga Mecha Seymour, and he's finally dead for good. He dies, and Yuna finally properly sends him. Because, back at Macalania Temple, we couldn't send him because the guards came in and started trying to shoot us. After finally sending Seymour, you proceed onward to Zanarkand. Zanarkand is the final location. You fight this random giant dragon with the most insane status effects, if I remember rightly. Like, I don't know. I don't remember anything about this dragon other than he being the single hardest boss in the game for me. More than any final boss, more than a lot of the post-game bosses. This guy was just really fucking hard. I don't even remember what he did. I think he was super fast, inflicted horrible statuses. I think he inflicted the status that made it so you couldn't heal. So, like, I think he turned you undead because healing hurt you. I think it was an undead dragon. I can't remember. But you move on from there and you reach Zanarkand. Zanarkand being Titus's old home. This is where you finally catch up to the intro. I didn't talk about it in the intro because I didn't think it was worth it for this recap, but the game opens with Titus, Yuna, Kimahri, Orin, Wakka, and Lulu. Titus, Orin, Wakka, Kimahri, Lulu. Oh, right, Yuna. All of them sitting around a campfire, like all in this together. And now that you're finally here, like you've played your way up to this point, you know they are enemies of the state. They are being pursued. All they can do is reach the end of Zanarkand, get Yuna the final Aeon, and stop Sin. So you do exactly that. You run into Zanarkand, you run through, you solve some puzzles because it's a temple, but it's also a really, really cool dungeon where you're fighting through like behemoths and stuff. You're high level. You know, once you're fighting behemoths in Final Fantasy, you know you've come a long way. So you fight through there, and you find that the Zanarkand temple does not end the same way as the others. Rather, those ones always had a small chamber where Yuna would commune with the Aeons. This one has an almost interdimensional outer space looking platform where everybody walks up and Yuna meets Yunalesca. Yunalesca is the one who will impart the power of the final Aeon into Yuna. And here is where we find out that in order to acquire the final Aeon, one of your guardians must be sacrificed. They will be turned into the final Aeon, that when summoned by the summoner will kill the summoner and stop Sin. And I believe this is also, I don't remember exactly why, but I believe this is also where Yunalesca tells the party that the reason Sin always comes back is because the final Aeon is Sin. A sort of new incarnation of Sin, that when this new one is summoned, it destroys the previous Sin, and then over the course of the years eventually grows strong enough and rampages across Spira as Sin until another summoner creates another final Aeon out of another guardian, and the cycle repeats. As it stands, people will continue to die. Sin will continue to torment and terrify Spira. That's right, I got some information wrong like 20 minutes ago. Seymour was not going to destroy all of Spira. Seymour was going to use Sin as himself to terrify the people of Spira, to basically keep them under the religion's control. The plan is to control Sin. That is the final plan. If the people of Spira and the Church of Yevon can control Sin, they will be able to control the people of Spira, keeping them worshipping Yevon through their protection, because those who follow the teachings of Yevon are not punished by sin. I believe that was the reasoning for Seymour. And now that the party found out, they're like, no, we're not sacrificing one of us plus Yuna just to repeat the cycle. We're gonna break the cycle. So you get to fight Yuna Leska. Another really hard fight, but another really damn cool one. I remember she had boobs, like really big boobs, and they kind of looked like they were like not fully covered, I think. It was a very over-sexualized, very cosmic horror fight, which I loved. And you beat Yuna Leska. And you, the entire party, figure, hey, what do we do now? We don't have the final Aeon. We just finished the pilgrimage, and we don't know what to do next. So I'm gonna go look up what happens next, because I have remembered my lifelines. I've got my lifelines. I'm just gonna do the walkthrough. Well, or do I do May? Do I try May? I think I'm gonna have to try May. I think I'm going to use my May lifeline. Scratching it out. It is no longer there. May!
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm filming a video.
Okay.
I am trying to narrate the entire plot of Final Fantasy start to finish.
No.
I took a gummy 20 minutes beforehand.
Uh-huh.
Have you played Final Fantasy X?
No.
Fuck! You don't know anything.
Right.
You don't know anything about the game.
Not there.
Fuck! Alright.
I already know that.
It's a piece of art! Thank you! So that didn't work. Okay, I thought I had played it. Oh, fuck. Okay, I have 2 lifelines, effectively. I think I just have to look up the walkthrough. I feel like if I look up the character wiki page, I'm not going to get... It's going to skip over something. I'm looking up the walkthrough. Alright, I'm using my walkthrough lifeline. Oh no. Oh no, wait. Wait, oh no, wait. I oopsied so hard. Alright, this is what lifelines are for. So we're gonna rewind a bit. Now we're gonna rewind, not that far, just back to Seymour's first death, escaping from Macalania. Oh god. Wait, this all happens then? Okay, so you're escaping from Macalania. The ice place, the ice wasteland, remember, we're back there. You're out on an ice lake, and you get ambushed by a massive Yeti fiend. You start to fight it, and this thing punches and breaks the ground, and you all fall into Lake Macalania. And while you're down there... Wait, no, I should have checked. Wait, I should have checked. I didn't check what happens down there. I just... Okay. I think I can reach the end. I think I can reach the end from here if I use my last lifeline. I just have to figure out how did they get from Lake Macalania to Beaconell Island. Because something happens. It's sin! I don't need my other lifeline. I don't need my lifeline, because once you are down inside of Macalania Lake, you walk for a while, and while you're all down there, sin attacks the group. Just the 7 of you. You wake up in the desert. This is kind of inexplicable. I think it was a Deus Ex Machina, though there is some logic to this that I can get into a little bit later if I remember to. I've said it like 6 times. I don't even know if I remembered everything I tried to remember. But Beaconell Island is a desert. It is a massive desert dune with almost nothing to it except monsters and like one oasis. And this is a really cool part of the game. You have to run around and slowly find the rest of your party. It's a linear path. I think there's like 2 linear paths, so you go down one and then down the other. You have to do all of it to find all 7 party members. And when you do, you reconvene and find that Riku knows where you are. You're on Beaconell Island, and nearby is the Al Bhed capital home. A gigantic city made of machina, surrounded by machina. Everything is machina. And Waka, not a fana, a machina. So he's very racist the entire time. Waka hates the Al Bhed, and we find out the reason he hates them is because when his brother died as a crusader, he was wielding an Al-Bed weapon. That is the entire reason that Waka is so crazily pro-Yevon and anti-Machina, is because his brother was convinced by the Al-Bed to use their Machina weapons, which attracted sin, and he died, and Waka blames the Al-Bed as a people. He's very racist at the end of the day. He gets a little bit better, but he's never quite perfect. He's like that uncle who's trying. So, you make your way through home, because home is also being attacked by fiends. In fact, it has been so overrun by fiends, there is no saving it. And they've decided that the only way to truly save home is to activate the self-destruct sequence, destroying all of the fiends along with the city. You don't even really get any time to explore home as a place. It is just a dungeon. It is a dungeon you fight through, you get to the top, you all escape into Cid's airship, because you meet Cid, who is Riku's dad, who is Yuna's uncle. And this is when Waka finds out that Yuna is half Al-Bed. Either that or he found out 8 in-game hours ago and I forgot when. It's definitely after Riku showed up. You now have an airship. You are working with Cid, and you decide that there is one place you should go. One thing you can do, one idea to potentially stop everything. And it's because the Church of Yevon is the one responsible for perpetuating the cycle of sin. We're gonna go to Bavel and fight the Church of Yevon. Quite literally. You get in, you have to fight this awesome flying dragon, which is an amazing fight. It's like the protector of Bavel. I only remember that name because it was on the walkthrough. So you fight the dragon, you get to Bavel, you slide in, you fight a bunch of guards. And guess what? Seymour's alive again. Guess what? Seymour's alive again! Maybe we didn't send him on Gagazet. Maybe he just fell off the mountain. Maybe I misremembered that. We haven't been to Gagazet yet. Right, yeah, no, we haven't been to Gagazet yet, which means we also haven't been to Xanarkand yet. This is... Are you lost yet? But we're in Bavel. We're in Bavel, and they've kidnapped Yuna. Wait. That's right. At home, before it exploded, they kidnapped Yuna. Yuna is gone, and they have to get her back because she is in Bavel, about to be wed to Seymour as a sign of hope across Spira from the church, so they can continue to control them. And they say that if they do anything to stop the wedding, that Seymour will kill Yuna himself. Everybody, including the actual head of of Yevon, is in on it. And we actually find out that the entire head council of Yevon are also fiends, just like Seymour. They are effectively immortal right now because they're not human. They are fiends in charge of everything. They have been dead for years doing this. We are unable to stop the wedding, but I know Yuna jumps off the building. Can I say that on YouTube? And she catches herself with Valifor and rejoins the party, and I believe the party is kidnapped. They're kidnapped and split up because Waka, Riku, and Titus all have to swim through the sewers, and you fight the fucking dragon, but it's undead underwater. And if you didn't train any of those 3 characters, or if you're like me and you didn't use Waka or Riku, guess what? Your team sucks. And then you're also split into Kimahri, Lulu. That's right, those 4 are dropped in a dungeon. Whereas the 3 swim through the sewers together, which is part of the dungeon as well. The 4 of them, Yuna, Lulu, Kimahri, and Orin, are all dropped into a physical dungeon where they have to run around and find each other. Eventually you fight your way out, you leave, I believe you just get on the airship, you learn how to summon Bahamut. Yuna, Bahamut, I've always said Bahamut, but it might be Bahamut. I've heard Bahamut a lot. How many times can I say Bahamut? Oh no, we've reached the struggle bus. You infiltrate the Bavel Temple, and that is where you learn to summon Bahamut, the strongest Aeon that is not the final Aeon. And I forget how you escape. Do you literally just get back on the airship and leave? Because you don't finish off the Church of Yevon. You decide, we're gonna go finish our pilgrimage. Is this what I use my... Because it would definitely be in Yuna's wiki page. Do I use my last lifeline? Because that's the last one. Do I know where I'm going from here? As I do this, you escape. You go to the plains. That's where you get the water scene with Titus and Yuna. I think I can do the rest, but I'm worried about the description of the ending. I'm like trying to find, like, I'm trying to cheat on camera. My ass is trying to like formulate a plan in my mind. I'm gonna... But how did they escape Bavel? How do you escape Bavel? I think you just leave. How do you escape Bavel? Because you go from Bavel back down to the Macalania Woods area. I'm spending way too much time worried about this. They escape Bavel! You go down, you hit the Macalania Woods area, and here's where I recorrect everything. You know, you have the Titus and Yuna water scene, you have the big open minigame planes with everything, you go to Gagazet, you defend Kamari's honor, you get over Gagazet, that's where you fight Seymour for the fourth time, or not fight him, but see him for the fourth time. He's back, he's super mega mecha Seymour. Finally kill him and send him, and then you finish up Gagazet. That's when you fight the undead dragon. You get to Xanarkand, you fight through all the behemoths. I should have realized I was there too early. Damn. You fight through the behemoths, you get through to Xanarkand, you meet Yunaleska, who shows you and tells you about all of the Sin, and the Guardian, and the Summoner, and the Reborn, and the Calm, and the infinitely repeating cycle of duty Yevon. And they say no, and you kill Yunaleska. You just... Goodbye. And you kill her. By which meaning you have also killed the only way to truly ever kill Sin again. As it stands, if the party should fail from here, there is no way to stop Sin. Yunaleska, responsible for the final Aeon, has been killed and sent, I believe. I don't remember if she got sent or not, if she was even sendable. That's getting too detailed for my brain right now. So from here, you leave Xanarkand. You have killed Yunaleska, and the party... Unless I'm misremembering, the party literally agrees, what else is there to do but go fight Sin ourselves? I think they realize that because the Summoner's Guardian becomes Sin, and Yuna's dad's guardians were Orin, who is still here, and Jecht, we find out that Sin is Jecht. Titus's father is Sin. He is the one responsible for everything. I think this is also where we find out that Jecht brought Titus to Spira on purpose. Because Jecht always loved and respected his son, maybe not respected, but he loved and knew his son was capable of great things, and even though Jecht is Sin, I forget by what Final Fantasy magic, but he had the ability to control Sin. You know, he can't stop Sin from destroying, but he can use Sin in some ways, like to bring Titus to Spira. We also learn, this was actually back at the end of Gagazet, Titus isn't real, by the way. We learned this back at the end of Mount Gagazet. Titus is not real. Titus is actually a collection of spirits from the far plane. Very similar in a different way. Titus... No, that's right. He's not a collection of spirits from the far plane. That's a fiend. No, Titus is sort of a figment of... Oh my god, I forgot about this. Wait. What's the name of the beings that summon the Aeons? Not like the summoner, but... Uh-oh, wait. Wait, this is really important. They're insanely important to the lore. Wait, what's the name? What's the name? It's the hymn. Like, they have the hymn, don't they? It's not Hymn of the Faith. Oh, they're just called the Faith. They're literally the Faith. Titus is a figment created by the Faith. The Faith created Titus to help Yuna and the gang stop this, but once Sin dies, the faithful not just the faithful, just the faith. Once sin dies, the faith can finally sleep because the aeons won't be needed anymore. The faith will sleep. And when the faith go to sleep, Titus will no longer exist because he is just their creation. And once they're gone, he's gone. Titus does not tell anybody this whatsoever, actually. Titus never tells a single party member, to my knowledge. And yeah, your party literally says, hey, we're going to go fight sin. And you know what our plan is? We're going to jump into sin. I don't remember if there's any logical reason why they decide this is the way to go, but this is the way they go. So, you fly up in the airship, you fight Sin's outer shell, you get him to open his mouth, and you fly and dive into Sin. Which is a problem, because if you save in there, and you're not multi-save filing, you can't leave. You are forced to stay in there, and if you can't beat Sin, you have to grind on the monsters inside of Sin, who are equally powerful. I remember loading up, I think my dad's save file, because my dad got to that, this is where my dad got to in Final Fantasy X. I would load up his file, and he was just so under-leveled, because he had been using every character equally, and didn't grind anybody, so he was super under-leveled, and even with his party, I couldn't beat the monsters in there. He couldn't either, and that's why he never finished the game, and it's really sad, and I just remembered that. You're welcome. But you fight through these points inside of Sin, and you get into, like, the deepest part of Sin, where you have to fight Jecht. Jecht, Titus's father, the actual heart of Sin, has taken on this massive, like, demonic form that looks kind of like Jecht. It's a sick fight. It's got the best song in the game. Look up the Jecht fight theme in, like, on YouTube. Oh my god, if you haven't heard it, it's probably playing on screen right now. Playing on screen. Yeah, let's wrap this puppy up. We defeat Jecht, but that does not stop Sin itself, because within Sin, the very thing creating and driving Sin, you have to fight Yevon, the deity that everyone has been worshipping, that the church has been using to control people, has been inside of Sin all along. This deity is Sin, and if you can kill God, because it's Final Fantasy, you can save the world. Which, of course, you do. Upon killing the god Yevon, the party escapes Sin back onto the airship, and as Sin disappears, the faith begin to fall asleep, and Titus, with one final really touching scene with Yuna, does vanish at the end of the game. The party is left, just the 6 of them. Titus does not get to live in a peaceful Spira. He was in a way made by Spira to help save Spira, and that's really, really beautiful. You get a little glimpse into the life of everybody post-Sin in the calm, because Yuna is recording like a journal entry on a sphere for Titus, should she ever find him again. And that's sort of where it's left off. Waka and Lulu have a kid. I don't remember if that's revealed in this game or the next game, but Kimahri goes back to Gagazet. Everybody has their ending. And then Final Fantasy X-2 happens, and they all have guns.